Coming up on the Q30 Newscast, can't make it to class? Well, Quinnipiac has got you covered with the newest advancements in remote learning.
And in order to help solve its parking issues, Quinnipiac and Public Safety will now be strictly enforcing the parking rules.
Plus, find out which former U.S. presidential candidate will be stopping by Quinnipiac tomorrow.
All this and more coming up on the Q30 Newscast. Welcome into Studio 125 for this week's Q30 Newscast. I'm Joe LaGrippo.
And I'm Ethan Logue. The Quinnipiac University Students for Environmental Action organization has released a letter in response to the university's plans for expansion in the upcoming years, known as the South Quad. The organization feels that this new move will negatively impact the environment. Q30's Tim Malone has the story.
The student-run organization Students for Environmental Action, or SEA, have drafted a letter to the university regarding their concerns on the planned 2024 campus expansion called South Quad. The student organization is concerned of the lack of sustainability in the expansion, especially regarding the deconstruction of the environment on site. The letter criticizes the school for, quote, plans to cut down hundreds of native trees, uprooting soil systems, and disrupting a still healing ecosystem that has suffered damage from a changing climate. Student Anya Grondowski wrote and drafted the letter.
I think that they just need to proceed with more sustainability in mind, like thinking about when we're sourcing the materials to build the South Quad and to be clearing land, like, are we funding small businesses? Are we buying local and using sustainable materials?
The letter has had a huge show of support on social media, and many students agree with the contents of the letter.
It's calm, it's a nice walk. You can look out into the lake and see the nature. Now we're going to be obstructed by buildings. I don't like it.
I'm honestly heartbroken by the news of it. The nature was the sole biggest part of why I picked Quinnipiac.
I really like hanging out in this area, and I think it's like a nice place. It's like more like nature-y on campus.
I'm here standing among the very trees the university plans to cut down for South Quad. The trees currently stand as part of our university, but in 2024, this landscape will look very different. For Q30 News, I'm Tim Malone.
The first ever Talks on the Rocks took place this evening at 6 p.m. on York Hill's On the Rocks. The event was an opportunity for students to voice their experiences during a 2-hour conversation where 10 faculty members and 10 members of administration sat down around tables with students to discuss community engagement at QU. President Judy Olean, Chief Experience Officer Tom Ellett, SGA, and other university leaderships were also in attendance to be involved in the group table debriefs. They heard firsthand what the issues were for the various populations of students regarding the community. Here's SGA's Vice President for Inclusion, Jeremy Gustafson, with more on the event.
I really think it was productive, and I just, even afterwards, speaking to people attending, it seems like a lot of people had fun. We're going to have 2 more Talks on the Rocks this semester. One is going to be about mental health, wellness, and accessibility, and then the final one is going to be about seniors.
It's another week, so let's take a look at the updated COVID-19 dashboard here at Quinnipiac.
Now, as you can see on your screen, there are currently 24 active cases at Quinnipiac and 24 new cases confirmed in the last 7 days, Ethan. So not much change from last week. Only 2 more cases have been confirmed, and the total amount of people who have tested positive still remains the same.
Now, 2 medical experts will discuss gene therapy. The future is now at the annual Rare Disease Day Symposium at the Quinnipiac School of Medicine this Friday. The symposium will feature a panel of patients who will discuss a rare disease either they or a loved one has had. Recipients of the first ever Youth STEM Award will be recognized as well, and there will be an art exhibit featuring portraits of individuals with rare disease in the lobby of the Center for Medicine, Nursing, and Health Sciences.
Parking decals are now being checked more often on campus, and students are getting ticketed for parking in reserved spots. Public Safety now regularly enforcing parking rules on campus to ensure that spots are going to the right students. Lauren Clemens spoke to students to get their reactions on the hot topic of parking at Quinnipiac.
With a shortage of parking on campus, students have been seeing an increase of parking tickets being given this semester.
Honestly, the parking situation has gotten so annoying to me that I started taking the shuttle. I live up on York Hill, And like, it's really hectic to get parking anytime during the day. Like if you don't come at 7 in the morning, it's really hard to get a spot. And now with all the ticketing and towing, it's been really stressful for a lot of students.
Head of Public Safety, Tony Reyes, is aware of the parking situation.
Trying to get a cultural change so that students are parking where they're supposed to be, that people are using the shuttles if they can.
We spoke to students about the increase in parking tickets.
I think it's a bit ridiculous. You know, you can't really ask people to pay so much money and to, you know, not have adequate parking, all this space for all these people that are, you know, just trying to get to class.
I think it's a little too many tickets. I think because it's hard to park, so people are parking in places they shouldn't be, but they just want to get to class.
Students have been warned about parking in certain areas.
So, you know, we are doing more enforcement. We're trying to figure out ways to fix the problem. And unfortunately, part of that is ticketing. We didn't start ticketing until later on in the semester. I mean, early on, it was just a lot of communication, you know, speaking to students, you know, at you know, in the parking sites, in the lots. Yeah, it's just unnecessary, unfortunately.
Also, renovations to the rec center are contributing to the increase of traffic and limited space within North Lot. The renovations are set to complete in 2023. Reporting for Q30 News, I'm Lauren Clemens.
Tomorrow at 7 p.m., former U.S. Secretary of Housing and Urban Development and even 2020 presidential candidate Julian Castro will be in Buckman Theater to participate in an hour-long discussion which is free and open to the public. Hosted by the Quinnipiac Democrats, he will recount his time as the youngest member of President Obama's cabinet, what it was like running for President of the United States, and will be even taking your questions.
This past Tuesday, Associate Director for Multicultural Education, Veronica Jacobs, monitored an event called Organizing with a Purpose, a panel of Black activists. The 4 panelists, which include Harmony Ito-Samwan, Julian Rose, Kat Morris, and Rachel Green, met to discuss what activism means to them and how they personally have fought for change over the years. Quinnipiac University will launch a new community walking program for senior citizens called Bobcat Stride. The event kicked off today by University President Judy Olian as well as local town leaders. The program is free to those above the age of 50 and will run between 6 to 8 in the morning on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Quinnipiac University staff, faculty, and students are also encouraged to participate. Well, it's time for our first break of the night.
But still to come, find out which new advancement in technology is revolutionizing the way Quinnipiac students can take classes from home.
Plus, we will have your 7-day forecast and your national news update. Stick around.
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies. Selfies, nailed it.
We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's split a ride home.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
When we adopt a shelter pet, we discover they're a unique mix of all kinds of things.
Come on, Jules, spotlight on this last one. There it is. Keep going with it. Leo.
They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love.
Welcome back to the Q30 Newscast. We appreciate you sticking with us tonight.
We are now joined in studio by Eric Kerr to give us a 7-day forecast and weather across the state. And I'm hoping for some more days like today. It was really beautiful outside. What do you have for us, Eric?
Well, Ethan, unfortunately, you will not be getting that nice weather through the rest of the week. And first, we'll take a close look at the
Weather across the state, right now everything's less than 40 degrees. It was 66 earlier as the high, but you can see the highest temperature, 39 New London, lowest temperature 30 Torrington. Let's take a look at the rest of the weather across the rest of the week for the 7-day forecast. We start with Wednesday. Obviously today was really nice, 66, but the temperature is going to start to get a little bit lower. 37 tomorrow with some sun and clouds. Friday is going to be one of the days you want to pay attention to most. 36 is your high, but there's going to be a little bit of snow and rain, about 1 to 3 inches to be exact of the snow. Also make sure if you check your QU One Stop email, you have to move your cars over to the parking garage with the latest parking advisory. That will go into effect on Thursday evening and will also continue into Saturday morning. Now, let's take a look at the weather for the rest of the week. As you can see, 34 and 40 are your temperatures going into Saturday and Sunday with a little bit of partly cloudy and sun, but also Monday's going to have some more sun, but a little bit cooler, and then you'll get some more sun and clouds for Tuesday with some more clouds later in that day. But that's all for me for this week for the weather. Back to you guys over at the desk.
Thanks so much, Eric. We appreciate it. Robots have been introduced in the School of Nursing to improve remote learning for students who cannot attend classes. They can call the robot and even navigate it to move to different rooms and locations. This advancement provides more accessibility and looks to the future of virtual learning at Quinnipiac. Hepzibah Rajan has more on the story.
The School of Medicine has taken a new approach to remote learning. Students can now call a robot to not miss out on anything that happens in the classroom.
So they may not be able to do the actual hands-on skill, but they can actually participate by watching their peers doing skills at the bedside and also by communicating with the patient and educating the patient.
Rogers got the idea when she was watching News 8 and heard that the University of Texas had purchased these robots.
We were challenged sometimes that the Zoom carts were just in the corner. They didn't give us accessibility to the bedside.
These robots have improved how students interact with their peers and professors.
It really is starting to increase the accessibility of accessing labs in a different and unique way.
A couple of students have successfully used the technology.
I felt like I was in the room and I still got the same benefits I would as being in the classroom.
This idea still has its challenges. First felt that the robot was difficult to navigate when she used it for a skills and simulations lab.
Navigating it was a little bit difficult, because you are the one that moves the robot. I thought it was easier when they physically walked me.
In this age of technology, Rogers believes that there are infinite possibilities with how the robots can be used.
I think the value of the technology of robots, again, is sky's the limit.
At Quinnipiac University, the experience for virtual students has only gotten better. Reporting for Q30 News, this is Hepzibah Rajan.
And now, Ethan, that's obviously a crazy development there for Quinnipiac. But speaking of crazy developments, let's go across the country for some national news.
Yeah, and joining us now to tell us what's the latest in the national news is Audrey Scafati. Take it away, Audrey.
Thank you, Ethan and Joe. There is a lot of tension rising in the United States and Russia. And the reason is yesterday, the United States and the United Kingdom announced that there will be new sanctions placed on Russia. President Biden said that the events happening in Ukraine are just the beginning of the Russian invasion on Monday. Russian President Vladimir Putin sent troops into 2 independent regions of the Ukraine. Biden notes that these new sanctions would, quote, cut off Russia's government from Western finance, end quote. He said that diplomacy should still help the crisis and that the U.S. will keep the door open in regards to talking to Russia and avoiding an all-out war. In other national news, the 3 men responsible for killing 25-year-old Ahmaud Arbery have been found guilty of a federal hate crime. Exactly 2 years ago today, Arbery was murdered on a run in his neighborhood in Georgia. The jury followed through with the prosecutor's case that Travis McMichael, Gregory McMichael, and their neighbor, William Roddy Bryan, chased and killed the 25-year-old in Georgia because he was African American. Wanda Cooper Jones, Arbery's mother, thanked the Justice Department for the charges, however said, quote, we will never get victory because Ahmaud is dead, end quote. The 3 men could receive up to life in prison on top of the life sentences the state courts gave them. That's all I have for this week's national update. Back to Ethan and Joe at the desk.
From one Italian to the other, thanks so much, Audrey. It's now time for our final commercial break of the night.
But still to come, it was rivalry week at the People's United Center. Find out how the Bobcats fared against their arch rivals.
Speaking of the People's United Center, the Teletubbies were in full force for rivalry week. If you have no idea what I just said, give us 90 seconds. We'll be right back.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job. I need a new career.
Well,
I've been there.
I've been there.
I've been there. I wasn't happy with what I was doing.
After high school, I didn't have a plan.
I just wanted to start working. I got laid off twice, but you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a 2-year IT program.
I found a medical course online.
I'm now a consultant in the tech space.
You have more options than you think. You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.
Maybe you can make retirement happen. After all, you made home ownership happen. Homeschooling yourself on loans, beefing up your credit score.
So I'm pre-approved.
You were like, yes! Sorry. Color coding listings, ticking boxes, and flushing every toilet in a 20-mile radius. Home sweet home. You aced house hunting. Now get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Honey, what I think you need is a socket wrench.
I played JV basketball.
I'm sorry. I don't think it looks right.
This is good, and it's all good, baby.
Is it really all good?
If you love me enough to routinely test your handyman skills, not to mention the strength of your marriage, then of course you'll visit nhtsa.gov/therightseat to make sure I'm in the right car seat.
I'm gonna call my dad.
Welcome back. We promise that is the last break of the night.
It was rivalry week here on campus. The men's and women's ice hockey teams both battled against Yale. We are now joined by Ben Kane, who has the scoop on those games. Ben?
Thanks, guys. On Friday, the women's ice hockey team welcomed the Yale Bulldogs, the People's United Center, for the Battle of Whitney Avenue. The Bobcats were able to take down the #1 team in the ECAC at that time by a score of 4-1. Shriver, Mobley, Saltness, and Cooper all got on the score sheet for QU.
Saltness in the point, and she will not miss, and Quinnipiac takes the early one.
Shone through and was one of the main contributors to their win. After their 1-0 loss to Brown against Saturday, Quinnipiac finished 4th in the ECAC and will take on Clarkson in a potential 3-game series this weekend. Yesterday, the men's ice hockey team welcomed the Yale Bulldogs to the People's United Center for the Battle of Whitney Avenue. Now, this sounds like deja vu, but I promise it's not. Just 4 days after the women's team took on the Bulldogs, it was the men's turn for the bite at the cherry. The Bobcats dominated in their performance and won the game 4-0. They had 4 different goal scorers on the day, including Gus Van Ness, who is sitting very comfortably on a career-high 6 goals this season. With QU at the top of the ECAC, they will have one more weekend to solidify their spot as the best team heading into the playoffs. That's all I have for this week. Let's send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Ben. Great job as always. Now transitioning from the athlete side to the fan side of the Yale-Quinnipiac rivalry, Q30's Katie Cohen spoke to the Quinnipiac Spirit Group to get their perspective on the Battle of Whitney Ave and how they keep fans engaged during the game.
There is one Quinnipiac University tradition that makes it different from every other school: the Teletubbies. The Teletubbies have been a staple at hockey games for over 10 years.
It's something that started off of a win streak, so now it's kind of like a good luck charm for QU hockey, for us, for the whole student body.
After a Halloween win, students decided to wear the suits for the rest of the season, where the team continued to win every game.
The Quinnipiac Teletubbies are a Quinnipiac school tradition and bring so much spirit to every game, especially against Yale.
I think the Teletubbies definitely influenced the crowd by just really being hyped up and trying to get everybody involved and really just going all out so people don't feel weird about being the one to yell.
And it's a special position to these 4 seniors who have been wearing the suits for their entire college career.
My favorite part about being a Teletubby is probably the crowd and just getting them involved. It makes me feel really good when we can get people to cheer along with us and also dance with us in the crowd.
President of QU Spirit, Kelsey Killian, is grateful for the experiences the organization has given her.
Being a Teletubby has definitely made me much more of a confident and sociable person, so that's something I'm really grateful for, and without this org, QU Spirit, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Reporting from the People's United Center for Q30 News, this is Katie Cohen.
Great stuff, Katie. Real quick, Ethan. The Teletubbies are a topic of conversation a lot when it comes to the ice hockey games.
Of course.
If you had to suit up, which Teletubby would you be?
I'm really glad you asked that, Joe. I would 100% be the red Teletubbies. My parents watching, I grew up on that. I love the Teletubbies so much. That was the show I would always watch when I was young. Quickly, what would you be? What color?
Honestly, can I be the sun? Isn't the sun like a baby?
That's a little terrifying. That's a little concerning for me, Joe. I'm going to have to be honest. Well, that is all the time we have for this week's edition of the Q30 Newscast.
To stay up to date on all things Quinnipiac News, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30 News and check out our website at q30tv.com.
For our producers, everyone behind the scenes, my co-anchor Joe LaGrippo, I'm Ethan Logue. We will see you same time, same place next week. Have a good night, everyone.